Great pleasure to be able to introduce to you two people who are going to take us through the next few minutes together by presenting something about Catch. We've got Ash Razzaq with us. Ash is the founder and CEO of Catch, which means Community Action to Create Hope. And like Hannah, if there were no houses in the way and I stuck my head out the window or climbed onto the roof, it's just over there from where I am. I walk past it 2 or 3 times a week. Catch is based at Arc in Harehills and it's a member of the Leeds Learning Alliance. Ash is also a police officer and he focuses much of his work around youth engagement strategies. So welcome. And it's also good to have Simon Flowers with us. Simon is executive principal at Carmanor Community School. He's involved in partnership working with Catch and a member of the Leeds Learning Alliance as well. So it's great to have you both. And I think Simon is going to start. So Simon, all yours.
Thank you, Graham. Good to be with you all on this lovely sunny morning and to see familiar faces and old friends. Thank you for having Ash and myself speak with you this morning. I'm going to be very brief to give Ash as much time as possible. There's a lot to say. Ash and I have worked, our paths have crossed for the last 11 years, starting off with a cricket team that Ash was running that was using the school facilities. And over the years, we've been working together around the children, really, that we both share. But more recently, we've been building provision for children at risk of exclusion from school and all of the consequences of exclusion. And through that partnership working, we've been working closer together and we're very involved with each other's organisations and with Leeds Learning Alliance. I think what you're about to hear, I think, is remarkable. And in all my years of working with young people in formal and informal settings, I've not seen a piece of work like this. So I hope it's a short period of time for Ash to get the message across, really, and to try and explain. But I hope you pick out of what he says and what you've been able to see on the video clip and on the website, just how significant it is, the work that's taking place and the way that the work is being done. And that's the key thing, particularly if you pick up on the way that Ash has been able to develop volunteers and the capacity that volunteering brings. So I'll hand over to Ash, and I hope we have opportunity for some questions at the end. Ash?
Brilliant. Thank you very much, everyone. Morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having Simon. Can you all see the screen? Thumbs up if you can. Brilliant. Perfect. Right then. So yeah, I wanted to take you through the journey of Catch, which stands for Community Action to Create Hope, and I'll come back to the name right at the end. And it's all about developing youth-led community spaces. So I've got this presentation that I've had for a while, and it's actually over 30 slides long. So I've condensed it down to as small as I can get it today. And obviously I've taken all the videos out. So I did share with Graham the videos that some of you might have watched already, or if you haven't, then if Graham can send you the links and you can watch the video after to show you the journey of Catch, but also some of the young people that are involved in Catch. So as Graham introduced me, I am a police officer. That is my day job, and for many years I've been sort of running Catch in my own time. My spare time, any spare time that I've got, I sort of contribute to Catch. But I guess being a police officer, I've seen the downfalls of society really, and where things go wrong, and where more so young people end up going down the wrong path, which takes them to a life of criminality, antisocial behaviour, or they unfortunately become the victims of crime. And I guess that's what motivated me about 10 years ago to really start addressing that root cause, that root issue, rather than, I call it the sticky plaster approach, where you know, police officers attend a job, they have to attend a job, it's a critical moment in time, and we put a plaster over what we've done, what the issue is. And then unfortunately, if that root cause is not dealt with, or that issue is not dealt with, the sticky plaster eventually comes off and you're left with the problem again. Whereas I'd like to think that the work that I'm doing through Catch at the moment is all about, preventing, but it's all about making sure that we look at a long-term fix and it's not just a temporary fix. But I just wanted to go to the sort of just take you through this slide really that I put together, which was about pitfalls. And I always talk about a blessed life. I mean, some people will call it a privileged life. I hate to use the word privilege, but I talk about having a blessed life. And I guess what I mean by that is you're born and then you end up, going to college, university, having a job, having a family. And I guess that journey for some people in the world is relatively straightforward. So when I first drew this diagram, I drew a straight line thinking, well, that's a blessed life. But then I thought, actually, no, hang on a minute. There are people that might have blessed lives, but actually they still do have pitfalls. They might get bullied at school. They might have a loss of family member. Parents might get separated, or they might not get the required grades that takes them on to something that they really want to do. But along the way, we all have that support. We have that guidance. We have that intervention. So it might be it might be our parents. It could be work colleagues. It could be teachers. But luckily, the people that are blessed have got people that can prevent them from falling in those pitfalls. Or when people are in those pitfalls, they can pull them out. And I guess when I was policing and when I went out to some of the areas that I policed, I found that a lot of the time, young people didn't have that support mechanism. They didn't have people that they could go to or people that they could trust and confide in. And I guess the reality is, and the young people that I come across daily and those that are involved in Catch have lots of pitfalls. And as you can see on that diagram there, they're just a few that I could get onto one slide. Things like getting into fights, getting excluded, not having the right qualification or skills to go onto jobs, and being surrounded by negative influences. And I guess the people that support these young people are the people that are at Catch. But one thing I want to sort of get clear before the end of this presentation really is those green people that are at the top there, they're not necessarily adults. These are young people that are supporting other young people from falling into pitfalls and lift them out of pitfalls. I'm a true believer that we need to prevent people from falling in those pitfalls, but we're never going to stop people from falling in pitfalls. But when they're in there, we need to try and get them out there faster. And the longer people are in pitfalls, the longer they become entrenched in a life of crime, antisocial behaviour, or even victims of crime as well. And I guess one of the things that I want to point across is, and as Simon alluded, is we can't do this alone at Catch. As a charity, we have to work in collaboration with lots of partners, and schools being just one of them. And that's where we're proud to be part of the Leeds Learning Alliance, which is a group of partners that have come together to address the most pressing needs and issues that we've got in Leeds at the moment. And it's in extreme cases, we need extreme support, and that's what that helicopter and crane is there for. There are some people that are entrenched in pitfalls that we as Catch can't take out those pitfalls, but it's actually specialist support that we get into to help us with getting young people out of those pitfalls. So what is Catch? Catch is, like Graham's introduced, a charity. It wasn't a charity when I first started. The story will become very clear soon. But we've got we've got 5 main missions of what we do at Catch, and they're all sort of listed there for you. And they're about creating positive futures for children and young people, developing community safe spaces, providing volunteering opportunities, which I think is key to developing good citizens, to developing skills in and amongst young people that they can go on and have successful futures, contribute towards community safety and well-being, and promote togetherness, unity and acceptance. And my previous role in the police was within the counter-terrorist unit. And I came often amongst people that were just not tolerant, were just not accepting towards others. And I guess one of the big drivers for me at Catch is how do we build unity and acceptance and promote togetherness by what we do. So for those that don't know Harehills, I'm sure you all know Harehills. If you put Harehills into Google Images, these are the types of scenes that come up: disorder, chaos, murders. And I guess when you're a young person from Harehills and you're walking through this daily, whether you're waking up from school, when you're waking to go to school in the morning or coming back in the evening, suddenly you start thinking that you live in a society that's not great. And you just got to think about the psychological impact that has on young people when they're growing up, thinking that, you know, I'm not going to achieve very much if this is what I'm destined to be around. Those that don't know Harehills, more facts for you. It's one of the most diverse BME communities in the city, and it's got the most highest population of young people in the city as well, and a high volume of crime. But as you can see from that aerial shot there, very much a lack of green space. So going back 12 years ago, when I first decided to do something about this, I found that there was not very much activities for young people to get involved in, and actually there was a lack of green space as well. But really, the emphasis was, right, if these young people are not, you know, doing something positive, then they're going to be out on the streets. They're going to be involved in drug dealing, drug taking. They're going to be involved in antisocial behaviour. So I actually came across this bit of land that you see that's marked in the area red there, and it was covered in 3,000 odd syringes that you can see, fly tipping, tyres. There was a massive fly tipping issue going on this bit of land, and I guess for those that have watched the movie Field of Dreams, it was kind of like that moment where, right, well, you know, I need to do something with this bit of land to try and get some traction on it, to try and do something with it. And I started developing this bit of land into, well, I didn't know what I was developing it into at the time. I just wanted to clear the space of all the syringes and all the fly tipping. But one by one, I started to get young people involved, local teachers involved, and the result is we cleared this land of all the overgrown vegetation. We got some contractors and tapped into their goodwill, and they came and leveled the land for us. And before you know it, we've got a space that's open, that we've decided to put some grass seed down on. And before you know it, we've got a football pitch, or a sports pitch. And that was really how Catch was born. And Catch was born to just really, as a small community group, to develop this bit of land. One thing led to another, and before you know it, as Simon said, we created a cricket team. We took young people to Mount Snowdon. We started doing roller discos in local parks with floodlights, and I guess that's where the momentum really started to pick up. Where I thought, wow, this is pretty amazing. We've got a bit of land, and now we've got all these youth activities going on. You know, what more can we do? And that's when we moved into a porter cabin on a school site next door on Hovingen Primary school site, and it wasn't really being used during the week. It was probably used 1.5 days a week. So we developed it, and when I say we developed it, it was young people and adults that developed this. Young people took the lead, and young people told us what they really wanted from the space, and we developed this space together. And we were in there for a good few years. The commissioner came, and you know, and I guess the good bulk of youth work, meaningful youth work, where we were getting young people off the street, engaged, productive, getting them into apprenticeships, getting them into thinking about further education, getting them just to be away from negative influences. That's where the bulk of this work happened. Unfortunately, about 5 years ago, we had to vacate this building because the school needed the building back, so we had nowhere to go. And we had this bit of land, which was Hovingen Park back in the day, but it had been grassed over because of all the issues that were taking place in this park. This was a building, a special place in my heart. When I joined the police 18, 19 years ago, this was a building that I was trained in when it was in Wakefield. And then 5 years ago, we had an opportunity to move this building. This building was going to get demolished by the police because they built a brand new training site. We moved it to Leeds, and that is the result. And that's the building that you see in Harehills now. But one thing I just want to get across really again is that, you know, the contractors, the professionals move the buildings by a crane, by wagons, but everything that you see there, from the painting, the decorating, the landscaping, has all been achieved by young people as young as 11. And I think the eldest at the time was about 18, 19 years old. And they're the young people that have actually made this happen. And they've got some true ownership over this space now. And you know, there'll be times where I come in now and they've got the lawnmower out and they're mowing the lawn. And that's actually an element of pride that they've got in this space. I guess the other thing to just talk about is you can have a building, you can make it look pretty, you can paint it fancy colours and have a really nice garden, but it's nothing without the individuals and the people. And I guess one of the big things that we've done over the last few years is really drive empowerment of individuals, adults and young people, but really getting them to the point where they feel included, they feel they want to be part of something, they feel it's like a family, and they want to drive forward the momentum and continuous development of what we've got going on here. And I guess this slide really paints the picture, and I call this the Youth Community Builders slide. And I guess a lot of places, a lot of institutions and organizations do the first thing. They view young people as clients, and I guess that's where I tend to move away from. And I guess what I'm a big believer of is everything between young people are supported right the way through to young people being equipped, and then young people becoming community builders themselves. And I guess, you know, what we've got to do sometimes is we've got to change culture in society and within organizations for them to understand that actually young people can do quite a lot of things. They can really do something. If we give them the tools, if we give them the skills, they can go on and they can represent us, but they can actually develop their own spaces. They can actually make society a little bit better than it was before. And just to give you some ideas of what I'm talking about is, and I thought this would be really good, especially for the kids that are on this call today, to look at these images. This is our community farm, our educational farm. So we've got a farm in the middle of Harehills. You don't tend to find that here. And this was built entirely by young people. And we've got 10 pet goats and we've got 10 chickens. And literally this morning, I arrived at Catch, and we had a 12-year-old that came here with other 12-year-olds to basically sort the goats out, get them out in the morning, feed them, clean them. And we have rotas where young people are involved in. We've got about 30 young people involved in just the farm at the moment, taking them out and basically, you know, looking after them. We've also got a community care hub, and this is where we, over the pandemic, we started to support the community with food, parcels, and again, adults are in the background managing it and developing it and coordinating it, but we've got young people on the ground that are actually packing the food parcels, giving out the food parcels, and it's actually moved over into our food bus now, and I'll talk about it in a second. This is it. So we had a double-decker bus that was donated to us a year or so ago, and I just want to get across that I'm in sort of recycling really. I recycled an old building, and this is a bus that was going to be a youth bus for the young people, but actually during COVID we found that we needed a food bank, so we developed this into our food bank on site now, and it's open weekly now, where we're giving out hundreds of parcels a week to people that need it. And just to show how it can be done in a very small space, this is a shipping container, and we've actually converted a shipping container recently into a music studio. And again, the work has been done by young people, supported by professionals that are come and show them what to do. And then finally, really, it's just showing you that one of the things that we're doing at Catch now is we, rather than going out and, you know, taking over an organization that wants to do this, or rather than going out and thinking, right, well, he can learn from us, and we'll teach everything we know. We want to actually work with community groups. We want to actually work with organizations out there that want to do this. And rather than us coming in and having that approach of, well, we'll take over, we'll do everything, we just want to embed local people from local communities to do what we've done and empower them. And the way we want to do that is similar to what we've done up at the Knolls, which is another estate in the top end of Harehills. We've gone in there and we've tried to support adults and children to run their own centre and run their own provision. And it's actually led to some success, where there's actually a new extension that's been built on a community centre. And actually we've got local young people that are involved in running these sessions and actually going out to their peers and saying, well, come and join in. And that's powerful, because if it's a police officer that's trying to get young people in, or if it's adults that are trying to get young people in, we can only do so much. If it's that peer-to-peer approach where young people are approaching young people, and it's really powerful. And I guess finally, Graham said to me, he doesn't want me to preach, and I'm not going to preach, but one of the things that I wanted to just really sort of say is that I'm inspired by this story. And if you haven't heard the story, please Google it and have a read of it. But really, I'm motivated by helping one child at a time. And the Starfish Story is all about a boy that's on a beach. Some starfish have been stranded on the beach. He's frantically running around throwing starfish into the sea, trying to save the starfish. An old man walks by and says to the child, what are you doing? You can't save all these starfish on the sea. The boy turns around and says, well, I can save this one, and tosses the starfish into the sea. And I guess the principle of what I'm trying to say is, a lot of organizations try to change hundreds of kids, or it's like a numbers game. Let's see if we can get 50, 60, 100 kids in the space, and they can all take part in activities. Well, I'm all about the one, and I think if we can build hope or create hope for one individual, then we've done what we set out to do. And that's all about changing a person's life chances or a trajectory in life, so that they can go on to have a successful, meaningful future, and they can contribute to the wider society. And I guess I've wrapped up an hour's presentation in about 15 minutes there. So thank you very much.
Excellent. Thanks, Ash. Simon, is there anything you want to say in bringing it together before we take questions?
No, I think let's just go straight to questions, I think.
Great. So if anybody has got any questions, you can type them in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself and say them. Just to remind you, though, that we're recording at the moment. So do put them in the chat if you don't want to be recorded, and I'll send them in. I'd just like to say, though, as people are thinking about that, thanks ever so much, Ash, for your presentation, and Simon for your introduction. Rachel and I chose Harehills as a place to live because of its vibrancy and the way in which it's such a diverse place to live. And when we announced that we were going to live in this place, everybody's all our friends and family Googled it and said, "Don't go. You can't live there." In fact, some of you said, "Don't go." We're really pleased to be here, and really pleased to find what you're doing, Ash. So thanks. We've got a few questions. The adults involved, are they also living in the local community, or are they people who come from outside?
Yeah, so we've got a mixture of adults involved. We've got teachers, we've got professionals that are coming from outside the area. But actually, we've been lucky over the last 5 or 6 years, especially when we got the new building in place, that we've got lots of local adults involved. We've got a community cafe. Unfortunately, it's closed at the moment due to the pandemic, but the local cafe was totally run by local adults in the community. And we've actually got people that are now supporting us with growing vegetables and fruit, and they're from the local community as well. So it's a real mixture of people outside the area and in the area as well.
Thank you. And there's a lot of interesting Catch at the moment, where you've talked about what you're doing on the Noels, and I've been enjoying following that on Facebook and other social media. Have you got any other areas, or is it, the question is, are you a national organisation, or is it just this local entity that you've started?
Yeah, it's local. It's small. It's grassroots. It's within Harehills. We did support a few years ago over in Wortley when they wanted to build some of their youth activities. But really, we're just centred around Harehills. But it's that ripple effect where more and more organisations are sort of knowing about us, and we're supporting them with a number of initiatives. But also, I guess, although we're not a national organisation or even a Leeds-wide organisation, I guess the great thing is that because of some of the successes that we've had with young people and turn them around, we've got something called the People Enhancement Programme based at Catch, which is a collaboration with Car Manor, where we support young people that are finding it difficult at school and trying to get them back into school again. Because we've got things like that going on, I guess there's a lot of people that want to understand how we're doing it, how we're working with young people. So we can actually get to the point where, I'm not saying we can change strategy overnight, but we're able to inform politicians and local government and actually national government with some of the things that we've done around how best to handle things, which I think is a good position to be in if we really want to have a bit of a change within all of the UK, I guess.
Great, thank you. So there's a couple of questions about finance, and we can see that you've started small and grown to where you are now. Can you tell us about funding and how you've made it happen?
Yeah, in fact, I was on about this the other day with somebody from the council that nipped up, that does a different role now. And she was gobsmacked with how the scale of what we've got now and compared to where we were 5-6 years ago. And I guess what I've relied a lot on is goodwill, and I guess that a lot of the work that we've done is approach businesses for sponsorship. We've not relied on like grant funding from the local authority, from the police or anywhere. And really, I mean, I was lucky enough to get the building donated by West Yorkshire Police rather than them demolishing it. I guess that was a start. But then I've gone out to services, businesses that have contributed, either gifting contractors work and time, donating that, or donating us materials. But the bulk of the work has been done by volunteers. And I guess actually, to be fair, 95% of the work has been done by volunteers. And just to give you an idea of staffing, where we are, probably we've only got 2 part-time members of staff that are actually employed by the organisation. Everybody else, we've got over 100 volunteers involved with Catch at the moment, and about 70 of them are young people, and they are our workforce in a sense. And I guess all along over the last 10 years, I've been hearing that goodwill's going to run out eventually. Well, it hasn't. And if you motivate the people and you inspire them and you bring them along the journey with you, then they stay involved. And you know, I've got now 21-year-olds that were once, you know, 13, 14 years old that are still involved with the organisation, what we do. So going back to funding, yes, we go for, you know, elements of grant funding now, but that's way down the line. The initial part is just going out, donations, fundraising, getting people on side, getting businesses on side. And the one thing I want to mention is, you know, there are businesses out there that want to give. You know, there are some really good businesses that have turnovers over £1 million that actually want to give, but they don't know how to give and they don't know what to give. But if you go out there and actually say to them, this is what we want, this is how it's going to help us, they're willing to give.
Yeah. There's questions coming thick and fast, Ash, but let's stay with the young people and volunteering and how the volunteering transforms their lives. Can you tell us about the way in which a young person's journey and pathway through Catch is, and how you enable them to stay within it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take a lad who's actually close to Meanwood. He joined us, and he wouldn't mind me saying this because you know, he shares his story with colleagues. But you know, at 14 years old, he was arrested for GBH, grievous bodily harm, which is a very serious offence. He was referred to us through a friend. He came here, didn't really like it, and I think the first day or 2 he was here, we asked him to build a fence or take part in building a fence, and he was like, "Well, I don't have to build a fence." And it was like empowering him to say, "Well, actually, here's the tools. You're not going to be on your own. You can work with an adult. Start building a fence." And you know, the fence wasn't the greatest fences that have been built, but it was trying to encourage him to believe himself that he could do something. And I guess that's the philosophy that we use behind Catch, where we empower young people to test themselves, to take part in initiatives and activities, and really get involved in all the different things that we've got going on. And it's a constant building atmosphere where we're always building something, whether it's the farm, the growing tunnels, the music studio, the gym, the food bus. There's always something going on that allows young people to build. But also we get young people involved in running the youth activities as well, during the holidays, during those periods. And we empower them along the way by putting them on training courses, by putting them on in-house courses here, but sending them away for residentials and various things as well. And before you know it, they're so entrenched in learning and building that they want to be involved in Catch. But we've got a model called Superstars, which is about developing tasks, about the young people, completing tasks, and us enabling them to develop their competencies and their knowledge. And one of the things that does is unlocks incentives. So like things like the gym, things like using the building out of youth session hours, things like going on trips, things like, you know, every month and at the end of every year, we have like incentives, like awards, where volunteer of the month, you know, volunteer of the year. And I guess in amongst all that, so they do the hard work, they graft, they do the volunteering, they're involved, we train them, we empower them. But actually, there's the incentive there at the end about, you know, being part of the team. And I guess the other great thing is that, and this has happened naturally over the years, is the young people that have gone on to do apprenticeships, that now have got jobs, that are in the police, that are doing, you know, gone on to be successful because of the input of Catch. They're actually still involved, and actually they have a story to tell. So when they now tell their story to the young people that are coming through, well, this is what I got out of Catch. This is how Catch helped me. The young people are, oh, well, maybe I can do it. Maybe I can do what you've done, and achieve what you've achieved. So it's that I guess I wasn't in this position 12 years ago because I didn't have, young people that had become, young adults telling that story. And I'm lucky now that I'm seeing the sort of fruit of our labours, where we've got young people now that are telling that story and encouraging other young people to take part.
Great. Thank you, Ash. We're going to be closing in 2 minutes this part of the room, and then we bring all the children and everybody back together, and we'll say thank you to you kind of publicly then. Could you maybe, as we close, we've got 90 seconds, what has been your biggest challenge or regret?
I guess what I find a lot of at the moment, and I've got to watch what I say when I say this, I'm being recorded, but the biggest challenge is red tape. The biggest challenge is, when we have local government and rules and regulations, and some things have got to be done a certain way, and you're trying to think outside the box. You're trying to think, well, actually, I know this will work. I know that if I get a space, if I get a community space, and I know if it's here, it will work. And sometimes people don't really believe in you. And when I say people, you might have the local community that believe in you and young people that believe in you. But sometimes, it's you've got to sort of bang your head against a brick wall many times before you get an answer and before you get people behind you. And I guess the thing is, when you've got credibility and when you've got things going for you, then it works, and people want to support you. But I guess it's that initial stage where the startup is really hard and difficult. And I always say to people in the local authority now is, well, what if Joe Bloggs on a street corner wanted to do this? How can we support them? And I've been lucky enough that I've had contacts along the way, but we really need to try and empower local communities and people in local communities to do what we've done at Catch, really. So that's been the real challenge. And finally, just before we go into the main room, Simon is here. He's been a massive support, and that's why I truly think working with schools is a big thing as well.
Cool. Thanks, Ash. We're going to get sucked back into the main room now. And if you could hang around, we'll say thank you formally and properly. It's been great to hear from you, and we'll be hearing more about what we're going to do in partnership in the future.